Hello there. My name is John Lee Duncan. I am a DSW candidate at Loma University, and I'm going to be talking about the research that I'm doing. It is entitled Examining the Experiences of Belonging and Life Satisfaction with Gay Men of Color. I want to start off with a quote from a therapist, a researcher, a storyteller. A deep sense of love and belonging is an irreducible need of all people. We are biologically, cognitively, physically, and spiritually wired to love, to be loved, and to belong. When those needs are not met, we don't function as we are meant to. We break, we fall apart, we numb, we ache, we hurt others, we get sick. And this is from Renee Brown. Being a sexual minority involves being a member of the LGBTQ plus. It means going against societal norms and exposes individuals to minority stress, including discrimination and lack of acceptance. Similarly, being a racial minority, these individuals will experience similar prejudices related to their racial identity. Heteronormativity and racism reinforces the idea that white heterosexuality is the norm, marginalizing gay men of color, or GMoC, contributing to stigma and rejection. When you put both of these identities together, GMoC are double minorities with higher rates of mental health issues, suicide ideation, and substance abuse. The family unit plays a crucial role in the early development of belonging. Coming out can disrupt family bonds and social connection, leading to long-term emotional effects. Gay individuals often face rejection, verbal abuse, and even homelessness due to negative reactions from family and community members. Discrimination extends into education and workplaces where lack of belonging occurs as gay men experience microaggressions, exclusion, and fewer economic opportunities. Political environments have become increasingly hostile with a surge of anti-LGBTQ legislation and policies that heighten fear and reduce rights. They send a message that sexual minorities do not belong. Lack of social support and access to healthcare further contributes to poor well-being and life satisfaction among gay men, as well as internalized homophobia. The cumulative effects of discrimination, isolation, and policy-driven stigma result in significant mental, emotional, and physical health challenges. Sexuality and gender, though often grouped together, are distinct concepts. Sexuality involves actions and experiences, sense of self, and choice of intimacy, while gender pertains to expression. To be a gay man means to come out and communicate with the world that one likes to be with men and one is a homosexual. Gender has traditionally been a binary, but now includes broader identities like non-binary and gender non-conforming. Cisgender individuals align with their birth assigned sex, while transgendered individuals identify with a different gender than assigned at birth. Despite experiencing similar stigma and oppression, sexuality and gender address fundamentally different aspects of human experience. My research is focusing solely on cisgender gay men. French historian Michael Foucault in 1978 describes how sexuality shifted from a once open and natural aspect of life to one that became private, repressed, medicalized, morally judged, and controlled by religious, legal, and capitalist forces. Being gay means to be sexually deviant, establishing a societal structure and power differential. The rise of state involvement in sexual matters was linked to political and economic goals, particularly concerns over the population growth and labor forces. The family unit lost authority over sexual education as educators, doctors, and other experts took control, reinforcing societal norms rooted in heterosexism. Medicine labeled homosexuality as pathological, categorizing it as a mental illness as seen in the DSM. Another example was the original name of AIDS, gay-related immune deficiency. Tools like the gender unicorn help illustrate the spectrum of identity, attraction, and expression beyond traditional norms. Information about gender can be found on the top, while at the bottom there is information about sexuality. When we're talking about gay men of color, we're going to be talking about three specific groups. The Asian community is highly diverse, encompassing a range of ethnicities, cultures, and immigration experiences, making it difficult to define a single Asian identity. Gay Asians often face social invisibility and marginalization within both their ethnic communities and the broader community due to cultural norms like collectivism and taboos associated with homosexuality. These individuals may struggle with coming out due to fear of shaming their families and experiencing rejection, leading to significant psychological distress. Racism within the gay community, such as exclusion on dating apps and fetishization, further illustrates gay Asians and contributes to internalized racism and low self-esteem. Support systems like the Vet Rainbow of Orange County that help counteract these stresses by fostering a sense of belonging, emotional support, and community resilience. One study showed that a national survey within the US reported that close to 90% of Asians who are members of the LGBTQ plus community experience homophobia within their ethnic communities, while 78% experience racism within the gay community. Gay Latinos face unique challenges due to the intersection of their race and sexual identities, often experiencing rejection and pressure to conform to traditional gender roles and family expectations rooted in Latino culture. This rejection, combined with religious conservatism and the cultural value of machismo, contributes to higher rates of mental health and substance abuse. Many conceal their sexual identity to avoid family conflict and maintain a sense of belonging, leading to feelings of invisibility and isolation. Within the broader gay community, they often face racism, marginalization, and lack of representation, feeling like a minority within the minority. Despite these struggles, some find support in inclusive subcultures and chosen communities that affirm both their queerness and Latin identity, helping them reclaim self-worth and build reliance. Another study shared that a hostile family climate caused 25% of their participants to use alcohol and other drugs, 20% had one symptom associated with depression, 17% to have suicidal thoughts, and 4.6 to attempt suicide. Black gay men face a dual burden of racism within the LGBTQ plus community and homophobia within the Black community, resulting in heightened psychological stress and identity conflict. These overlapping oppressions often lead to internalized racism, heterosexism, which hinder their self-acceptance and contribute to mental health struggles and self-hatred. Many Black gay men suppress their sexual identity to maintain relationships and support within their racial community, sacrificing authenticity for a sense of belonging. They also face systematic discrimination in healthcare, politics, and society at large, limiting their access to resources and intensifying feelings of exclusion. Despite these challenges, identity-based support communities can offer validation and safety, helping to mitigate the harmful effects of being a double minority. Being Black, or Black men are exposed to higher rates of racial inequalities related to fatal police shootings. Men like George Floyd and Stephen Clark are examples of people who were wrongfully killed due to their color of their skin. Belonging is a human need essential for achieving personal growth, as it supports mental, emotional, and physical well-being. Humans, being social by nature, suffer when socially isolated, which negatively impacts their overall health and ability to thrive. The need for love and belonging, as described in Maslow's hierarchy to the left, plays a critical role in emotional connection and foundational for self-actualization. In 2010, the U.S. Census Bureau reported that approximately 31 million Americans were living alone. By 2050, they project an increase up to 57 million. Perceived social isolation increasingly contributes to poor mental health outcomes. Families come in many different forms, be they single parent, multi-generational, or two household families with divorced parents. Belonging goes beyond the family unit to friends that become chosen family. Social and online communities can also offer safe, affirming spaces that promote belonging and emotional support if rejected from biological family. Research supports that strong social networks enhance successful aging and are protective against mental health issues and internalized homophobia. Early supportive environments are crucial as poor attachment in childhood can hinder future relationships with social integration. When someone's social health is poor, their mental health and their physical health can suffer. When someone's social health is good, like when they feel safe in social environments and experience a sense of belonging, their mental health and physical health will improve, and that individual will get to experience the benefits of relationships. Ultimately, building and maintaining meaningful connections helps GMoC and all people improve resilience and live healthier, more satisfying lives. Scholars have broken down belonging into four components, which are related to a group or a community. So membership to a community or group, influenced by a membership or influenced by a community or group, fulfillment of needs by that community or group, or shared emotional connection from that group or community. Well-being is complex and varies by the individual and shaped by emotional experiences, cognitive judgments, and a broader personal standard of life satisfaction. This satisfaction is influenced by feelings of belonging in family, community, and broader society, but such standards are often remodeled in Eurocentric norms that marginalize GMoC. They do not achieve happiness or life satisfaction at the levels of heterosexuals. GMoC face unique challenges to life satisfaction, including race-based sexual discrimination, both from white gay men and within their own communities. Sexual racism, where white men are on the top of the gay social hierarchy and people of color at the bottom, results in lower self-esteem and greater vulnerability to mental health issues. Online dating platforms and gay social spaces further exposes gay men of color to rejection and harassment, compounding their sense of exclusion and decreasing quality of life. Stigma tied to health, such as HIV status, further reduces life satisfaction. Research shows that sexual minorities, especially gay men, report lower life satisfaction compared to heterosexuals due to discrimination, internalized homophobia, and minority stress. Attachment style significantly impacts life satisfaction, with insecure attachments linked to greater emotional distress and lower participation in social life. Secure attachments, in contrast, foster a sense of safety, emotional regulation, and belonging, which improves overall life satisfaction. It also buffers against internalized homophobia. Ultimately, belonging acts as a protective factor that enhances well-being, lowers health risks, and promotes longevity for gay men of color. Mental health issues like depression, anxiety, and body image affect everyone, but sexual and racial minorities face added trauma due to their minority stress. Gay men experience significantly higher rates of psychological distress and mood disorders than straight men, along with increased suicidal thoughts and attempts. The interpersonal theory of suicide links queer suicide risk to feelings of being a burden and low belonging. Queer youth, particularly, are much more likely to contemplate and attempt suicide than their heterosexual peers. These mental health struggles often persist into adulthood, where queer individuals show higher rates of depressive and anxiety disorders. Racially marginalized gay men, especially Latinos, are even at higher risk for suicidal behavior and remain under-researched. Suicide not only ends lives, but imposes massive emotional and financial costs on families and society. National suicide costs have been rising significantly in billions in recent years. Minority stress can lead to harmful coping strategies like substance use. Discrimination is reinforced by institutional practices such as the tobacco industry's targeted Project Scum campaign towards the LGBTQ community. Substance abuse contributes to public safety concerns, including impaired driving and domestic violence. It also exacerbates public health issues by increasing risky sexual behaviors and the transmission of HIV through unprotected sex and IV drug use. Sexual minorities are up to 3 times more likely than heterosexuals to develop lifetime substance use disorders. Methamphetamine use is especially high in urban gay communities, with rates exceeding 10%. Despite being more likely to seek treatment, they face barriers such as provider bias, stigma, and lack of cultural competence. Stereotypes about gay men, such as assumptions about promiscuity or drug use, can further alienate them from effective care. Research on substance abuse has largely centered on white gay men, overlooking the distinct experiences of GMoC, who face higher usage rates due to intersecting minority stressors. Studies show higher rates of alcohol, tobacco, and marijuana use disorders among gay African American and Latino men. So why am I studying gay men of color? It's related to my own positionality, an agency that my social location as an LCSW in California with over 15 years of experience across diverse fields, including mental health, healthcare, and education, has been able to provide me. I identify as a cisgendered biracial, Filipino and African American gay male. I've experienced racism in both parts of my racial identities as well as homophobia. I experienced firsthand feelings of rejection, isolation, and internalized homophobia for my minority stress. Right before starting the DSW program, I joined my local gay men's chorus at Sacramento, which provided me with a deep sense of belonging and inspired me to study this concept further. Once I found my sense of belonging within the gay community, my mental, emotional, and physical well-being significantly improved, and I became even more satisfied with my life. My mission is to uplift and support my friends, my community, and the queer community at large by combining my personal journey with professional expertise to inspire, change, and promote inclusivity in healthcare and in social work. This capstone will address two grand challenges: strengthening the social fabric by reducing isolation and promoting a just society with equal opportunities for gay men of color. By exploring lived experiences from Asian, Latin, and African American gay men through surveys and a focus group, this study will highlight how race and sexuality interact to shape belonging. Ultimately, the research seeks to inform culturally affirming policies that improve mental health outcomes and life satisfaction among GMoC. Research on GMoC is limited and often generalized under the broader category of gay men, neglecting the impact of intersecting identities like race and ethnicity, leaving gaps in understanding the needs of racial subgroups. Gay men of color face unique vulnerabilities that influence their mental health, life satisfaction, and ability to form a sense of belonging. Belonging, which varies by racial background and personal history, is a crucial protective factor against depression, substance abuse, and suicide. Global data shows North America is leading in research on sexuality and race, yet even there, racial dynamics are frequently underexplored. The underrepresentation is partly due to sampling limitations, majority white gay participants, fear of being outed, and a lack of culturally sensitive outreach strategies. In order to do this research, I'll be using these four theories and models. Individually, they provide a great deal of understanding of the experiences of gay men of color. However, when unified as one, it truly illustrates the risk factors and protective factors gay men of color experience at all levels of their lives. Queer theory challenges heteronormativity, ideas about sex, gender, and sexuality, positioning queer identity as inherently political and resistant to heteropatriarchal structures. Scholars argue that queer theory critiques power systems embedded in institutions like family, religion, and the state, and exposes the marginalization faced by sexual minorities, especially queer people of color. The theory emphasizes that queer identities are intersectional, shaped not only by sexuality, but also by race, class, gender. Queer individuals, particularly gay men of color, face compounded discrimination and lack of belonging in both broader society and within the LGBT community itself. Despite marginalization, the queer community has cultivated resilience, counter-narratives, and activism to challenge systematic oppression and demand social justice. Queer theory provides a platform for these voices, advocating for inclusivity in policies, healthcare, employment, and mental health access. It redefines homosexuality as a political and cultural identity rather than a deviant or abnormal condition. Ultimately, queer theory disrupts binaries and calls for broader recognition of diverse sexual and gender identities, enabling individuals to live authentically within and against societal norms. Queer theory, while rooted in queer experiences, can be applied broadly and is deepened through intersectionality, which considers how overlapping identities shape individual experiences. Identities such as race, gender, sexuality, and class influence social belonging and discrimination in unique ways, emphasizing the complexity of lived experiences. For example, a white gay man and a gay man of color face very different challenges due to racism intersecting with sexuality. Asian, Latin, and African American gay men often experience sexual racism within both their broader society and the LGBTQ community, leading to mental health issues and feelings of exclusion. Hill Collins and Bilges' four domains of power, structural, cultural, disciplinary, and interpersonal, illustrate how systematic forces shape inequalities and social hierarchies. The healthcare system demonstrates these inequalities through historic and ongoing discrimination against queer individuals and people of color, which often results in distress and worsened health outcomes. Queer theory and intersectionality together critique white, dominant, heteronormative structures by highlighting the multidimensional oppression queer people face globally. These frameworks create a space to challenge societal norms, understand disparities, and promote inclusion for marginalized LGBTQ plus communities. Minority stress theory explains how individuals with minority identities, such as gay men, experience chronic stress from both societal discrimination, distal stress, and internalized stigma, proximal stress. These ongoing stress negatively impacts mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. Gay men face higher levels of rejection, victimization, and the stigma than heterosexual individuals, who contributes to feelings of isolation, self-doubt, and internalized homophobia. This model helps gay men understand that these challenges stem from societal othering, not personal flaws, and encourages them to navigate identity expression based on safety. The minority stress theory model offers a framework for recognizing and validating the minority stress experience while promoting communal strength and coping. Protective factors like social support can help mitigate stress and foster resilience. Legal reforms and culturally sensitive care are essential to reducing health disparities and improving well-being in the LGBTQ populations. The social ecological model, SEM, provides a framework to understand how individuals experience How individuals' experiences, such as those of gay men of color, are shaped by and interact with broader systemic influence. SEM identifies five interconnected levels that influence health and well-being. Health must be seen as a lifelong interplay between individual resilience and the influence of family, community, and broader social structures. Each system reflects a layer of influence that contributes to shaping an individual's experiences. They illustrate how both proximal, internal, and distal, external stressors affect individuals. These layers intersect with factors like race, sexuality, and socioeconomic status, influencing health outcomes and access to support. By understanding the socioecologic model, one can better analyze how systematic forces shape minority stress and belonging across the lifespan. The purpose of my study is to explore the development of belonging that occurs among gay men of color and how it influences their lives. This mixed methods research design will be using a mixture of sampling methods that will assist in collecting 150 participants for the quantitative portion and 6 for the qualitative portion. A YouTube video will be shared on social media to explain my research. To be included in this study, participants need to be 18 years of age and a cisgender male who has a sexual identity of gay. They need to be mentally capable of understanding and making decisions to participate in the program and agreeable to audio recordings. This research is also unique because it will be comparing three racial groups in one study instead of just one. It explores the intersections of sexuality and race in society and how that impacts their sense of belonging. It provides a voice for gay men of color. So here are going to be my research questions and hypothesis. Research question number one, to what extent do gay men of color feel or perceive that they belong to the gay community, that is, the gay community in general, their own local gay community, and within their own network of gay friends? This is an exploratory question. The next research question is, how does race influence perceptions of belonging among gay men of color across the aforementioned domains? The hypothesis for that is that gay men of color will perceive lower levels of belonging to the gay community as compared to their Caucasian gay male counterparts. Research question 3A. What is the influence of perceived belonging on mental health and well-being among gay men of color? The hypothesis for that is there will be a positive relationship between perceived belonging and mental health and well-being among gay men of color after controlling for salient socioeconomic demographic characteristics. And the last research question 3B, it's also exploratory. How does this relationship vary according to racial identity, along with other marginalizations such as sexual preference and socioeconomic status, or a combination of these factors? So these are going to be the four questions that I have. So for the data collection and analysis, the survey will be found on Qualtrics and it'll be utilized an array of scales to explore how belonging influences gay men of color's sense of belonging, their mental health experiences, and internalized homophobia, as well as life satisfaction. ANOVA will be used to analyze differences in the variables studied across racial groups. The Bonferroni post hoc test will help identify which racial groups differ significantly. Additionally, the 90-minute focus group discussion will address how race shapes belonging with data transcribed and analyze using Mutaka's phenomenological approach and content coding techniques like Kiwik. The study will integrate both data sets using Cresswell's convergent mixed methods model to compare and interpret the results together. This dual approach allows contradictions and reinforcements between the data to emerge, enriching interpretation. Ultimately, this research seeks to authentically capture gay men of color's lived experiences and uncover how race and sexuality intersect in their sense of belonging. The focus group will have 6 people altogether, with 2 people from each racial group, 2 Asians, 2 Latinos, and 2 African Americans. Questions being asked explore the experiences of belonging as it relates to one's sexual identity, one's racial identity, the intersections of identity in queer spaces. Questions like, what does it mean like to belong? Tell me about your experiences when your sexual and racial identities intersected within your community are going to be asked. There will always be limitations in research. For example, the gold standard in research is random sampling. This population is hard to come by, so the use of pervasive convenience sampling and snowball volunteer response sampling will be needed. In the quantitative portion, issues may arise from limited sample representation, potential bias in survey questions, and oversimplification of complex experiences through numeric data. The use of established scales depicted in the last slide may not be fully valid for gay men of color, as those tools were not originally developed with intersecting identities in mind. For the qualitative portion, focus group dynamics may lead to conformity or inhibited sharing, and research subjectivity and limited sample sizes may result in overgeneralization of themes. Nonverbal cues, such as tone of voice, may also be missed, impacting the depth of interpretation. The discussion questions have not been previously validated, but were developed through clinical experience and literature review. A challenge may arise if the qualitative and quantitative results diverge, complicating the integration and interpretation of findings. While the aim is to balance both data sets equally, there is a risk that one may dominate the influence and influence conclusions more heavily than the other. This concludes my presentation. These are my references, and I'm looking forward to giving you an update about my research when I've completed by June of 2026. Thank you for your time.